Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why the people you follow on social media are keeping you in a body that you hate. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the fraud that is social media and how that exacerbates your issues with yourself. So if you are ready, I want you to listen up and lean in as we are going to elevate your mind. Hello, friend.
Hey, dear. It's been a minute.
It has been. You know, we're busy people.
What'd you do this weekend?
So I actually went to a coaching conference.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Do you think coaching conferences are beneficial overall? Because you've been to several.
so I have an opinion on this. Coaching conferences are only beneficial if your people, if 70% of the people there are your people.
Your people as defined by like people who are like-minded?
Correct.
Okay.
Like-minded and people who, because really it should be a networking thing.
Got it.
However, this particular conference, while yes, could be networking, it was more of promoting the coaching business that puts it on.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I have to just say, before we really get started, we have recorded 4 episodes, and I'm going to apologize for the following things. Breathing into the microphone.
Sorry.
Saying like, oh my gosh.
A lot?
A lot.
Sorry.
I mean, that's how we speak. But if you don't like likes, probably not the podcast for you. We also know that we're breathing into the thing. We know we're saying like and we'll work on it. That's all.
Yeah, that's interesting because when I think back, I'm like, did we say it?
Oh, yes. I listened to that show. I was like, there's another one.
Like, oh, crap.
Mhm.
You know, I took a speech class one time, like not like a how to conduct speeches.
Mhm.
I don't know, for some kind of credit. And that was one of the big things is your likes and your ums. And so since that class, I've always tried to reduce that, but I guess it didn't really kick in.
Well, so when I'm speaking, when I was on the news, right, I was aware of that, but we're just talking like
That's
we
true.
normally do.
That's true.
Which, honestly, if you hate that, then don't listen to us.
Yeah.
Because what we're not trying to do is be this proper deal.
No, I think it would be very hard for us to carry that on for 100+ episodes. I think we could do probably the first like 20.
Oh, I know what we can do.
What?
They can make it they have to do
shot
10
game?
air squats.
Oh, okay.
Every
That's
time
probably
we say
better.
like, they're gonna be like,
Okay.
fuck you.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do
like out of context.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause
Without.
obviously like is a word.
Okay, wait. So I want to go back to this coaching conference.
Yeah,
Hang on.
okay.
Sorry, sidebar.
Anyhow.
So you went
Yes.
positive? Or?
So took away a few positives. I got to hear Ed Milet speak, and I really enjoyed him.
Okay.
He is, the way that he spoke is very similar to what we do. And he very much, I don't know, he just was really uplifting and inspiring. I wanted to see a couple coaches. I'm not going to put them on blast because I respect them. However, it was always feeding back into pay for coaching with this dude.
That's frustrating because you paid to be there.
Correct. However, could you be in a situation where that type of environment works for you? Yes. So I'm going to give you a few other examples. I am going to be starting with a group called Foundress.
Okay.
And it is all female CEOs.
And you met this at this conference, or you
No,
just
I met her through networking.
Okay.
And for me, being that we work with high achieving women,
Right,
which female CEOs are our ideal client, I also get to learn from them about how they scale their business.
Got it.
So no one's selling anything. There's a membership fee.
Yeah.
But even that's reasonable.
Yeah.
So that type of deal, if I was to go to a conference for them, it would most likely be really beneficial.
Yeah, and I think the membership fee can be null and void, right? Because if you're going to have hundreds of people sign up without the membership fee, but that membership fee is like the buy-in, right?
Right.
It's like free coaching. Right? So you can have hundreds of people show up, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to follow through.
Right.
But you give them that buy-in financially, probably the same issue.
Yeah. So I met some really great girls, women that were like-minded. We actually met the first night and we spent the entire time together, which was fun. Got to hang with my girl Crystal. Shout out to her. Got to see the Mind Pump guys and had a really good conversation with Adam about his semaglutide journey and kind of picked his brain about a few things, mindset and like binge eating and food noise related, which we'll talk about on another podcast, and connected with Justin. I mean, it's always good to connect with those guys.
Right.
I don't get to see them often. Just really amazing humans. And, something we're going to talk about today, they actually brought up why using progress photos is a terrible idea for fitness. However, they did say it's the easiest ways to get
using
clicks.
Like for coaches, like it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. They said it is the easiest way to get clients. Yes. However, what are we promoting?
The body
and outcome.
Yeah.
Not the process, not the journey, not falling in love with feeding yourself right, exercising. We are solely saying you're coming here to be this before and after, which we've talked about feeds into. We didn't talk about this directly, but feeds into the all or nothing mindset. Right. I just want to be the testimonial. I'll do whatever it takes to get there, And so this actually feeds right into our topic, but let's talk about you. What did you do this weekend?
So we went to San Antonio, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, my significant other, his company sponsors or like essentially gives money to this corporation. It's Valero. So it's the gas company.
Yeah.
And they do a golf tournament every year in San Antonio. So it's essentially like the Waste Open. And so I hadn't been before. Michael's been before, but I've been to the Waste Open or Waste Management Open, whatever it's called. And I was like, okay, like prepare yourself. It's going to get wild.
It's going to be a shit show.
It's going to be a shit show. There's going to be a bunch, I need to kind of dress up a little bit, but something comfy because we're going to be walking a lot.
Right.
It was the complete opposite.
Yeah. There is no other golf tournament like the Waste Management.
Everybody's really subdued. Nobody's tripping on the grass over here. Everybody's, following the golfers the whole time.
They're actually watching golf.
Yeah, they're actually
There's
watching
not a
golf.
DJ at each
No,
hole?
there was not a DJ. Because that's what I was like, oh, where's the clubs? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was
You're
like,
a weirdo.
Yeah. But then I was like, oh, thank God. And then I don't have to, I don't know.
Bored?
Yeah. I don't like golf. And so, I mean, it was nice. I thought okay, at least I'm outside. I'm getting my steps. This isn't a trip I had a plan. So I'm not worried about logistics. We're just kind of at the golf course. They had free food. So
nice.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So it was good. And so we did that one day. And then the next day we went to brunch, and I have a girlfriend that lives there. So I just hung out with her for the day, which was great because then I got to kind of do a 2-in-1 trip.
Yeah.
And then we literally left Sunday at 7 a.m.
Nice.
And got
out
home.
of here.
Yeah. I got home at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And so I just went back to bed and took a nap and was like, okay, you got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love travel. We got some travel coming up. I'm going to go, my best friend, Adrienne,
she's looking good.
Dude, did she send you I can't say it. Because
Probably
you might
not.
hear it.
I haven't.
I'll show you.
Okay.
Oh my God.
She hasn't sent me anything.
Oh my God. I'm so proud of her. She has her last dress fitting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go and just make it a weekend because I want to make sure I can bustle her dress. I'm her matron of honor. So dumpy name. Dumpy.
Sounds jealous. I have no comment.
Hot married woman of honor.
Whatever.
Not this. I imagine a matron wears a bonnet.
I just feel like it's very Amish. I think of matron.
Bonnet.
Yeah. I think of a big puffy dress and nothing cute.
I understand. Obviously, I understand why. This is not against her by any means. So, and then 2 weeks after that's the wedding.
I know.
Yay.
Very soon.
So excited. I'm very excited. I wish you guys were going. I mean, obviously, you should go. Adrienne. Let's a few more people.
Yeah. At this point.
She's your coach.
I've met you 3 times now.
Yeah. Well, you know more about her than I think. Because what we do in our reflections, we're getting into it with people.
I do make her say, and actually probably a good majority of my clients on Fridays, they have to message me one good thing about themselves.
Good.
Because they just don't find anything good. And I'm like, I see so many good in you. But you have to be able to identify that. Even if it's okay, I went to the gym and I didn't feel like it. Or I wore these hot red pants and yeah, those are awesome.
Thank you. They're scrubs.
I wore these hot red pants and I felt good. And I was like, okay, something as basic as that, can change others alike, can change
Squats.
Yeah. Can change your perspective of like the journey of like we were talking about before and after pictures. You're not accumulating those thoughts in those before and after pictures.
Correct.
It's just that constant repetition of like, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay.
That's awesome. I love that. I do that for myself. You know, our current goal is to increase our social media presence.
Yeah.
And it's tough when you see other people have thousands and thousands of followers. Now, 1 million followers don't equal $1 million in your bank. Just want everyone to know that. And social media, it can oftentimes look like people are very successful because they've either bought their followers or they have followers, but they're there to see their, leggings up their asshole. And
but then
that's
who
not
is
us.
following that? Like
Dudes.
Yeah. Like, and
Go look at Mark's social media. Mark.
Go look at Michael's. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like, what is this? Like, just, honey, they just pop up. I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
It's an algorithm.
Well, and our conversation is fraud and like how the people you follow could be keeping you in the body that you hate.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of fraud on just engagement. So because of that, and trying not to compare and feel frustrated with where we are at the end of every night, I write down how we're one step closer to our goal. And some nights I have one new follower today.
Yeah. And sometimes like, and that's the thing of like, I forget with social media, and I think a lot of clients forget too, is it is very tailored.
Oh yeah.
And because even like on Reddit, I follow this like Instagram reality thing. And it's, to me, I look at it and I go, that's obviously fake. It's obviously contoured. It's obvious. But because I don't really scroll on social, like my social media is very cut and dry.
Right. We talked about you cleaned it up.
Yeah. And so when I see how do people like not recognize this? But they don't. And I think even like for when I was first on social media, it was CrossFitting. And so I was in the CrossFit. And so I'm looking at all these workouts that these girls are doing and all these things that they're doing and these bodies that they're getting. And I'm like, okay, I got to do that. Got to do that. Right. But they're not talking about their training and how long they're doing it. They're not like, I'm not realizing they are a professional athlete.
Correct.
Or like a professional influencer.
Right.
That literally spends their whole day doing this.
Correct. Well, this is a great little segment into it. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is while I was at this conference, I was discussing, certain women in this space that I was comparing our success of our program. Now, our program, no one has a program like this, literally. No one is doing all three things.
And so in all your networking, all of your networking stuff and conferences, you haven't met anybody else that has been like, oh, that's similar to my business model.
No, they will be either just like a binge eating coach or a trainer.
Okay.
I have not seen a lot of people put them together or they are both, but they have a disconnect between how to make that work. So actually, Desley, our intern, is one of those people. And she was so sweet. We were on our intern call and she said, I'm just so grateful for you. I wanted to do this, but I had no idea how to, and you are doing it.
Okay.
Which was really cool. So we're at this conference and I'm talking about these people and I find out, so one of these individuals has a big following on TikTok. And she's basically showing her transformation of weight loss. She calls herself like a 40-year-old expert in whatever. She's not 40.
What?
She's 37, which close enough. But when I was 30, like what I could do at 37, I can't do at 41.
Okay.
I shouldn't say can't, but it's different.
Yeah.
Right. And found out she has had a mommy makeover and lipo and still gets it to this day. Right. Yes.
If you're not, my face is very expressive right now. If you're not watching any video.
We finally figured out the video part. So
sorry about that too.
Yeah. You're going to get us now episode 5 and over. We promised we'd figure it out and we did. So that was number 1. Number 2, you talked about contouring. I saw a very well-known influencer and I was like, that doesn't look like him. He was much larger. He has his own.
You'll have to tell me off air.
Yeah, he has his own shit. I know he does. Like I can see, but his photos are shrunken and he is not shrunken. So there is that. Then also there is another group that specializes in working, again, women midlife. And I swear to you, the team collectively maybe was over 40. They're so young. They're so young. And granted, I think I talked about this before. Sometimes I don't know if I talked about it here or on a webinar or whatever. I get it. I don't have children, and I worked as a child therapist. However, the reason why I was good at it is because I had my own shit and understood how that affected me in childhood and beyond, and was able to relate to the kids and then provide that information to the parent. Did I have to do some parenting? Yes, but it was mostly around how to manage the trauma. Right. And not all doctors have the same ailments that they diagnose, right? Maybe a doctor gives you a flu shot, has never had the flu. However, the difference is in this industry, you can get a certification in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And call yourself an expert.
Right.
It's a piece of paper.
Right.
A doctor can't get a doctor degree, whatever it is.
A medical license.
Thank you. I was like, that's not what it's called.
They have a harder time.
Yes. That takes like over a decade.
Yeah.
My training as a therapist took an additional 3 years after graduating undergrad. So 7 years, right? And there's very specific training. But in this industry, people will call themselves experts and have maybe not even a certification.
Yeah. And I think even on top of that is whether they have the certification or not, sometimes they just really like working out and think they can apply that to a client. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember, more likely than not, 98% of that population does not like working out.
Correct.
So you're trying to find 2% of a population, and that 2% is probably feeling they're going to be very hard pressed to get a trainer because they already think they've got it right.
Right.
And then that's where we come in, because they end up realizing the 1% that doesn't have it right out of the 2 is burnt out, overworked, overstressed, not eating enough, training 7 days a week, obsessed with tracking. And that trainer is probably more like that 1% and encouraging it, as opposed to taking a step back and going, I think there might be a problem here.
Right. No, it's so true. I just posted, just because someone has lost weight doesn't make them a weight loss expert.
Right.
That is very common in the social media space. Yeah. Well, look at me, I lost weight. And people see, again, the progress photo, the transformation. They're like, well, I want to work with that person.
Right.
You don't know what they did to get there. And also, even if what they did was somewhat conservative, that still may not work out for you.
Right.
You know, and just because you've lost weight doesn't make you an expert in weight loss, especially around what it takes in your mental health to sustain that. You know, I've been really trying to streamline our message, and there's 2 messages. I'm going to focus on one of them is beliefs equal behaviors, behaviors equal outcomes, outcomes equals feelings that only exacerbate your beliefs, right? So they're just changing the behavior. And most of them have no idea that their beliefs are still the same.
Right.
The behavior will always catch up with the belief.
Right.
Right. And then we layer on top of that, now people have seen them lose weight, and the guilt and shame if they were to gain it back. Right. We talked about people thinking that their bodies are their resume or their business card. And so then they're going to go to extremes to maintain that weight. So the gal I was talking about with the lipo and this is actually a part of the distortion in the culture.
So does she say that she's had these?
No. I know some people.
Well, here's the other thing too. I think that I don't need to toot our own horn continually, but here we are.
Why not? I mean, if this podcast is only for us to make us feel good.
Yeah, we don't need the gratitude journal after this.
Right.
So one thing that I think keeps us grounded, I don't know if that's the right word, but grounded, is I cannot fathom promoting that and then lying to my clients about it.
It's called integrity.
Like that to me, I would never tell a client to do something or to not do something that I wouldn't myself do.
Correct.
And if I don't know the answer or something like that, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to reach out to somebody else that can give me that information and I can relay it, or I'm going to tell them I don't know. But like to really create a false sense of
Reality.
reality,
Mhm.
that I think there's so much more to be said than just about their fitness journey then.
Correct.
Because now what does that mean for like your relationship? What does that mean for your kids? What does that mean for your family? What does that mean for your friends? There is a perception you're trying to build,
Hmm.
and it's all kind of based on nothing.
Yeah. Well, and you think about that too, the people who actually know what's going on,
I mean, they
right?
don't trust you.
No.
They're looking at you like, okay,
You're a liar.
you're a liar.
You're lying. However, I want to acknowledge that if we did not put so much emphasis on
Right.
what people look like, specifically people in the fitness industry, then this wouldn't be an issue, right? But we do. And, for us, originally when I started posting, it was me doing workouts. It was me having lost weight. I've done before and after photos. And now that I know better, I do better. And I actually talk shit about myself back then. And know that, there are times where, yes, I'm a little bit leaner. There are times when I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Talking about it, making people understand the reality of it.
Right.
And, I think of I stopped following these particular influencers who are lean year round. And now when I'm talking about lean, I'm talking like 12,
Abs.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abs.
For y'all who don't understand, like
It's
having
incredibly challenging.
correct. Having a 6-pack, 8-pack is one of the hardest things to do in the world, especially for women.
Yeah.
Especially for women. And they, now again, like you're saying about CrossFit, that's their job.
Right.
And they will promote specific diets and say, that's how I got here. And one of them I'm thinking of, the diet is, so I don't care if she knows what I'm talking about her. She has this 3-step method where it's like high protein breakfast and a fruit, high protein lunch and a fruit, and then whatever you want for dinner, which I get. However, I had messaged her on Instagram and I said, this is an interesting dynamic. I see some blind spots. And she goes, there's no blind spots. I didn't want to get into a fight. I was like, okay, I just kind of whatever. The blind spot for me is the all or nothing thinkers.
Well, I can think of even just how does a client know what is high protein?
Right.
What like?
Well, I think she gives like 25, 30 grams of protein. So she gives a little bit more context, but
fine. But if they're only having pancakes right now to go to 25 in a fruit,
right.
Now you're superimposing, here's your diet, put it back in. I mean, it's the same thing as a trainer giving you a diet plan.
Right. Well, also think about the client who's like, look how good I've been all day. And then I have this open meal. Now she said like people aren't just going to eat whatever they want.
They are.
Right. Well, if you struggle with that mindset, which I would say 9 out of 10 women that we deal with struggle with that mindset, then I'm going to get to that later meal and eat myself into a calorie surplus. So, and then she is ripped. And I'm like, you're not doing that diet. You're meticulous in your eating. I know because I know what it takes to get there. You know what it takes to get there. We have both been in that restrictive mindset and now are in a healthier mindset. We know that it is tracking everything you eat. It is making sure that, or compromising on your social life.
Yeah.
It is training, which they're training too. Thinking about a couple of other women, they do a lot of multi-movement workouts where they're doing like
lunges to presses to burpee or something.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, their muscles are amazing. I mean, these women are fucking jacked and I love it. However, they're not doing those multi-joint or multi-exercise movements. They're doing traditional strength training. They're squatting, they're deadlifting, they're chest press. Like that's what they're doing. But the one girl, like majority of her, I actually bought her app to see what it was. The majority of her workouts are those multi-exercise movements. Sometimes on her social media, she'll show herself like in like under a barbell. And I'm like, well, at least she's kind of showing the reality, but we know that that's what she's doing. But she's selling this high intensity, huff and puff, feel like I'm going to throw up type of program because that's what people think is what they need, when in all reality, they don't. They need boring strength training,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of misconceptions around what they're eating and the exercise. So again, more fraud, but people look at these women and think, well, they look like that. I can do the same thing. And yes, for some of you, you're going to find results because you're moving more. Maybe you're getting more protein in. However, you're trying to live a lifestyle of someone who's lying to you about why they look the way they do. Then you fail, which only ultimately makes you feel like shit. And only, like I talked about, brings back those old behaviors, which then keeps you in a body you hate. And I'm done.
Yeah. And scene.
And see.
I think to go on for that too is that when you're coming from a place of, so let's take the client in this perspective that is a novice to all of this, right? You could have been working out for like 10 years and still be a novice if you're doing just kind of cut and paste things. That's what I'm looking for. If you're not able to take a step back and objectively look at that, instead of letting your emotions and your feelings and your drive, you're coming from a place of self-hate, right? And so they're playing into your feelings.
Correct.
It makes it very hard to step away and ask yourself, does this actually work for me?
Right.
A lot of times I feel like clients they just, oh, I want that, right? I just buy it without asking, does this actually work for me?
Right.
Because they haven't been taught this can work for you, right? Because so like, for example, school, as we know, is not for everybody. Going to grad school, going to college, going to university, all of that is not for everybody. But before, I feel like in my generation, it was, you're going to school, you're going to college. And now we're finding like, it wasn't really worth it when, half the kids drop out in their second year.
Right.
So this is kind of the same thing I would apply, but it's really hard for people to do that because they've been playing on your emotions. You're seeing it constantly in your feed. And then your friends are all talking about it too, of how it works for them. This is amazing. That's amazing. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. But you're trauma bonding or like,
right.
You're like bonding.
Insecurity bonding.
You're bonding over this like joint feeling of I'm not happy in myself. And so someone's going to solve it for me.
Correct.
But they're not going to solve it for you. You have to do it yourself, which is the part that really sucks.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to do that. It's kind of like therapy, right? Like you meet somebody, you're like, wow, you really fucking need therapy. But they don't want to do it because then that would open a whole can of worms that they just can stuff down.
Right. Well, and that, the whole industry plays off of insecurity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yet no one's talking about what actually solves insecurity. They're just saying, exercise more, be the testimonial, eat less.
Right.
Right.
And then once you're done, It'll all be fine.
Yeah. You'll look like me.
Yeah. But like, you won't look like her. You won't be fine. Now you have this massive fear of gaining weight back or not looking like, even if you're not in it for weight loss, you're looking in it for tonedness. You have this fear that you're going to get soft again. And I promise you, most of you, when you get to that toned look, you still won't be able to identify that you are.
Oh, yeah. Because you're not changing your belief.
Yes. And like, there's certain lighting that they're using. There's makeup on there. Like I went to a Suns game last month, February, whatever. And there was a girl, a dancer, who had makeup on her belly to have abs.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at Michael and I was like, that chick put makeup on her stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how can you tell? I'm like, dude, she's like in positions that would not have abs.
Right.
And it doesn't look right. It looks like
that's funny.
Bronzer.
Well, I'll be completely honest. I would do, even when I do photo shoots now, like she will kind of like shadow certain parts of now I have 2 visible abs. Right now, today, 0. I had I had a BLT last. Oh, so good. It was so good. Anyways, and crinkle cut fries. I'm gonna go get it for lunch. So my friend Camilla and I went out and we just kind of went around. We ended up at Pomeroy's. It's a dive bar, but they have the best freaking BLT. It's just so, anyway. So I've done that. I've shadowed.
Yeah.
and it's like contouring your face,
Sure.
right? So, but it's just coming back to that. The industry plays on your insecurities. So here's a question to ask yourself. How do I feel when I look at this?
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to make a decision. For me, it is usually I get pissed because I'm like, you're fucking fraud. You're lying. So that's an unfollow for me. Or I see a girl who's the butt shots,
I don't understand that.
unfollow.
Like,
Instant
I'm doing a
unfollow.
chest press, but here's my ass.
Correct.
Like, okay.
Like,
Wonderful.
if other industry, there was an actually funny reel on that. If other
Is there?
industries were, they were like promoting like a hammer, and they're like, look at this hammer. It was great.
Okay.
And also, do I feel shame or guilt or comparison? Unfollow.
Yeah.
You should not, the things that you subject your brain to should be uplifting. You should feel inspired. You should feel heard. You should not feel like that person's on a pedestal,
No.
right? And you should also not feel like that person's unapproachable.
I think if you think I should do that, that's an unfollow.
Yeah.
Right?
Good
Like,
call.
I should.
Unless you're following us, then you should do our program.
That's true.
But we're also not showing you really anything.
No.
We're not showing, like, I have B-reel of me working out, but I'm not saying do my workout. I'm actually talking about something totally different.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just eating ice cream.
I just like my posts are just informational.
Mhm.
And then if I do post, it's like of me working out, it's on my story of just because I'm like proud of the lift.
Yeah,
And that's
which I
about it.
love. The other thing that pisses me off is what do I eat in a day?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why?
Because
I mean, I know why it annoys me, but
Oh.
I wouldn't say it pisses me off.
it pisses me off because people are thinking, well, I'll just eat that.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
I'll
that's
look
not gonna
like
happen.
her.
Yeah, no.
It's one thing to say, here are 5 proteins that you can add to your diet.
Right.
Here are, a list of fiber-rich foods.
Right.
But what I eat in a day, I actually posted a funny reel when I was like, what I eat in a day. And it literally said, it was an empty plate that said none. And then the next one was of your business. Because what I eat in a day is going to be different than you.
Yeah.
The amount of carbs that I eat and how my body processes
Yeah.
them is going to be different than you. I enjoy dairy. I enjoy eggs. You may not, or it may not serve your body. It's just, I get it for having ideas. I like the recipe. There's a lot of cool influencers that do recipes
Uh-huh.
because that gives people an understanding of how to make nutrient dense foods
Mhm.
taste better. However, like one of the girls I follow, which I follow her because she was on Big Brother, but she says she had 9 parts of foods I eat to keep a flat tummy.
Okay.
And she would walk up with her abs. She's a model, right?
Okay.
And I'm just like,
So again, her job is to literally be in shape.
correct. And, so that's why I don't like it. Why don't you like it?
I don't like it because I don't think it's realistic. Because if I showed what I ate in a day, I'll tell you most people don't eat like how I do.
Correct.
Because I'm mostly paleo
Mm-hmm.
with some skewed.
Thank God.
I know. It took a long time. But like when we get clients, sometimes I'm looking at their meals that they're logging or they're taking pictures of, and their goal is literally to just add a color.
Right.
Whereas my meals have tons of colors, everything. And so to expect someone to be able to completely make that shift from going to like McDonald's every day for breakfast, Taco Bell for lunch, and I don't know, frozen food for dinner, and then they're all of a sudden going to add all of these things that I'm doing, that's impossible. So there
Right.
goes into your insecurity of not doing enough, all or nothing. And I want to say even like, okay, so we have a pretty similar body type of, we got a nice thick legs, nice thick butt, littler on top. We're roughly the same height. I mean, I think you're a little bit taller,
I'm 5'5".
right? Okay, yeah. So she's taller than me. Same athletic build.
Mhm.
Your and I calories and all of, like the macros and everything is different.
Right.
So you have almost similar people, and we don't even have the same stuff. And you and I eat different too. Like a BLT. I don't want a BLT. I'd rather have like a big old salad bowl or something like that.
No, I want a BLT.
Yeah.
I use a lot of Laughing Cow.
And I don't like
A
cottage cheese.
lot. No, it's
What is it?
cheese wedge.
Oh, I don't.
We use it as like a binder. It's delicious, spicy. I eat a lot of Bonza chickpea pasta. I make wraps. so I have more carbs
Yeah.
than you,
Yeah.
which is fine, whatever. It's just, you can't look at someone else's food and say, that's what I'm going to eat. And number one, it's not teaching you anything about what you like,
Right.
creating new recipes for yourself. You're just saying, I eat that.
Yeah.
And you're dependent on that. Right. And so that too is a fraud. I don't want to call it fraud, but it's, leading people into keeping the bodies they
Right.
hate. Right. And so all of this, the not being honest about how people got there, right? Which again is a fault to the community, that we have to continually be looking a certain way to be respected in this community. Then you trying the program, the diet, the exercise, the whatever, and not seeing the results that she saw,
Mm-hmm.
you feeling like a failure, right? Then the same machine plays on those insecurities, and you find that new shiny object or that new shiny influencer, and you just repeat and you repeat and you repeat and repeat. And again, we talk about all the time, doing the same thing, expecting a different result, which is the definition of
Crazy.
insanity.
Question, because I just thought of this. Do you think it's gotten worse because of social media and like the availability of these people, or has it always been there? Because like you could think like, oh, Weight Watchers didn't work for me, so I went to Jenny Craig. Jenny Craig didn't. So that was all before
Mhm.
social media.
I think it's always, there's been a hint of it there. However, you said something earlier that made me think. When we looked at, so say when social media wasn't a thing and we saw a football player,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know what it takes to get to that level.
Yeah.
But when we see an influencer,
Oh God,
we think it's obtainable.
Yeah.
When you just said a lot of these people, that's their job, right?
Yeah.
Ron Gronkowski or Travis Kelce, like they look the way they look because they're constantly training, and they're training in different ways. Things that no person, a very small majority of people would say, I can do that.
Right.
I'm going to try that. Social media, however, has created this uneducated pessimism about being able to obtain these things. Uneducated optimism
Okay.
of obtaining these things, where people think, well, this is a normal girl, I can do what she does. So there's that level of, and that's what I want to call it, uneducated. Apparently I don't want to call it anything.
Uneducated optimism.
Right. You don't know anything about how she got there.
Right.
Even though you know the athlete on the football field, you know how he got there. But because there's so many and you're inundated by it, that you decide I can do it.
Right. And I would even say too, like I'm thinking of my population of the prenatal postpartum girls too, that's another kind of rabbit hole, right?
Huge.
Because you're seeing these people who are working out during pregnancy. And honestly, sometimes you just can't.
Mhm.
Sometimes it really, really, really hard. So with the prenatal and postpartum population, they all like how to return to exercise quickly, how to do all, and it's like, yo, you just went through like
Trauma.
2 likes. Trauma, your body went through, I always tell clients, your body essentially went through a surgery,
Mhm.
right? Whether you had a vaginal birth or a C-section, your body went through a surgery.
Mhm.
And if you had any other surgery, you would take the time to rest and recover. So why is this any different? But they
Right.
got to get that how I got my pre-baby body back, how to get your abs together. And it's, honestly, the movements that get your abs together or like fix your core and all of that are going to be your compound movements with proper breathing.
Mhm.
We can do some isolated core movements. That's fine. But more likely than not, you're not going to use like a side plank to pick up the baby.
Right.
You're using, you know what I mean?
You're not?
You're not. Damn.
Weird, unless you're in the circus.
But they're selling this, and it's the same exercises. Use these to fix your core. Use these to fix your lower mom pooch. Use this to da-da-da. And you just need good rehab, good breathing technique that you can start before, like prenatally, going into pregnancy and then postpartum, and really reference what you learned before. Because when you get postpartum, you don't have the time or the energy to figure it out again, right? So if we can harbor those baselines before, go into it, and then kind of work on this mindset of you don't have to go back to that pre-baby body.
Right.
It's not there anymore.
No.
You had a baby.
Right.
So let's make mom body the hottest it can be, because
Right.
I guarantee your mom body post kids can actually look better than the pre,
Right.
but it takes some work.
Right.
And so we got to figure out how much work do you have to give with the time you have.
It's like if you know, this is a terrible example, but like if you got burned, like your skin got burned, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, I need to get back to my pre-burn skin.
I
It's
shouldn't
impo-
laugh at that, but that's
It's
actually,
impossible.
yeah, it's
You know, I couldn't think of anything that was not as crude and like sad, but you know what I mean? Like I have a burn on my arm,
Yeah.
or is it on my arm? Yeah, since childhood.
yeah.
It's never going away.
Well, that's, I mean, we could talk about this scar, right? Like I had to get a mole removed or something.
Mhm.
And it's, oh man, I would love to get that pre skin
Skin back.
I was like, no, I had a cancerous mole. It needed to be
Right.
gone.
Right. I mean, I've had a hysterectomy and the science, I had a robot.
Oh, the laparoscopy.
Yeah. Just chop my uterus
I
up
know.
like
And
a
then they pull it
steak.
out of your vajayjay, huh?
Yeah, they do.
Isn't that wild?
It's nuts. I have a scar, you know?
Mhm.
No, scar is very small, but you know what I'm saying? It's just, and also again, we don't know what those women are doing to get back there.
Nope.
And
They're under eating.
okay, so this is my true crime coming into the Mindset Mirror Connection.
Boom,
Boom, boom. There's our theatrics. So there's that YouTube mom influencer
No
who
idea.
she something Frankie. I don't remember her first name. She was this like momfluencer, and turns out she was literally like in prison, like she was abusing her children.
What?
She had like locked them, they were emaciated, all of these things, right? And on her YouTube, she looks like the perfect mom.
What's her name? Frankie?
Ruby Frankie or
Ruby.
something like that. And now the story's coming out. She's literally a terrible human. And she's now going, she pled guilty to child abuse, child imprisonment. And again, people are like, oh my God, she's such a perfect mom. I need
Taylor
to be.
Frankie?
No,
Taylor Frankie Paul, charged with domestic violence and child abuse.
no.
Video shows Mormon influencer.
Yeah. Ruby Frankie.
Ruby Frankie.
Nope.
Wayfair sucks. Don't buy anything from there.
Shh. What if they sponsor us?
Sorry, Wayfair. Fix
Anyway.
half my bathroom.
So it's that same concept. Like women would look at her and be like, oh, she's such a good mom. I need to be like her. I need to do all the activities
Oh
and
my
this and that.
God.
When this bitch was hurting her children. It's very sad. It's a very
For
sad story.
fame or money or all the like clout?
She says, because then she brought this other chick on. This other chick was the problem. Whatever.
Wow, there's always another chick.
Yeah. It's like
Hmm.
you have free will and you're in charge of yourself. Anyway, so again, social media, YouTuber, right?
Yeah.
And same is true for business, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, I am over the people reaching out to me to, scale my business.
Same.
And then I look at them and I'm like, how many businesses have you sold that have been successful?
Oh, I don't even care about that. I'm just like, stop.
Right. Well, yeah.
Like, I don't, just stop.
Right. It's so annoying. So for our listeners, I want you to understand that who you follow, if it causes you guilt, shame, comparison, anger,
Disgust.
stop following them, guys.
Literally
Stop following
unfollow.
them.
Yeah. Don't mute. Literally just go and unfollow them. Because
Mhm.
again, if they have, we'll say 60,000 followers, they don't care if they have 59,999 because they're going to get 5 more the next day
Right.
based on what they do for that. They invest in the algorithm, they invest in hashtags, they invest in marketing, they invest in, they spend money to get your attention.
And they invest in liposuction
Yes.
and Ozempic and, mommy makeovers. So number one takeaway from today is clean up your social media.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any way negatively, clean that shit up.
Mhm.
Clean it up, unfollow them. You deserve to go on social media, be entertained, to be educated. I think social media is a great place to educate,
Yes, absolutely.
to laugh, follow. I follow a lot of dog stuff and it brightens my day. So when I go on social media, I am not feeling like shit afterwards,
Right.
right? Number 2 is focus on your body and your life.
Yep.
What can you do? What are your current circumstances, your responsibilities,
I
your
think
stress
even
level?
writing that out,
Oh, yeah.
because you can think like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Get your calendar and
Mhm.
get your little notepad and physically write out, like, I could go to the gym 4 days a week.
Mhm.
And then look at your calendar and figure out when that would actually happen.
Yeah, and for how long?
Yeah, and for how long. And so start making it like really applicable to your life. And that doesn't even include, like, you're not putting any money towards that. You're just putting your time into it of
Mhm.
figuring that out.
Right. It's funny because we were talking, this is full circle, about Foundress, and she was telling a story about her best friend who said, I only made X amount of money last year. And it was like over $80,000.
That's not bad.
Right. Well, and she's like, I don't understand. And Kali, I believe her name is, said, well, let's look at your day.
Yeah.
And she said, I wake up, I do get the kids ready for school, I drop them off, I go to a coffee shop for 2 hours, work for 2 hours, then I, do some errands, and she's going through her day. And so the owner of Foundress goes, so you work 2 hours a day, 10 hours a
And
week,
you made 80K.
and you made 80K.
Yeah.
Why don't we reframe that?
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so awesome, the way that she said that. And
Right.
this is what we're saying is, look at what you can do and celebrate it. And when you do that, you create a process.
Mhm.
And I explained this at a recent speaking engagement, that even when it sounds like it's not enough, 10-minute walk per day, someone, especially who's an all or nothing or perfectionist, like, that's not going to do anything. What they're failing to understand is you've got to get your ass up, put the shoes on, get out of the house. You're starting to create a process around that then becomes consistent, and then you can add to it, right? And so what is going on in your life? What can you do based on your schedule?
Yep.
And just be real with yourself when it comes to food. What changes can you make? But also, how does certain foods make you feel?
Yeah.
Right? Because I have clients that can't do a lot of protein. They just don't digest it well. And we've got to figure out maybe some more plant proteins to bring in. And even for some of them, they're just on a lower, on the scale of, the 0.8 to 1.6. We're on the lower end, and they're okay with that. They're still maintaining their health. And, lastly, it's about catching your beliefs of comparison.
Yep.
Whether it's social media, your best friend, comparing yourself to old you or pre-baby body you, that is not serving you, because it's not the reality of today.
No, and I think, just even elaborate on that, you have to bring awareness that you're comparing. You can't just, oh, I'm comparing, I should stop. Because that goes down into that stuffing again. And you want to say, I'm comparing. This is not helpful. What is
It's making me
this
feel.
feeling? I'm feeling this way. And what is something I can do to make me feel better? Is it going for a walk? Is it unfollowing this person? Is it, honestly, like, I've had clients where I'm like, then stop hanging out with her. Don't call her anymore, because every time you're around her, you come back the next week for our check-in and you're in a spiral about your body and what you're not doing compared to her.
Correct.
That's not a friendship. And so,
or even, I had this conversation about an aunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's hard because it's family.
Yeah.
And so we started talking about how to create an internal boundary.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's internal, it can't be external.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just you have to bring awareness to it and then decide what is your boundary or what is your action.
And at the end of the day, I think this is what we leave you guys with, is there is no other person like you. There's no other person that has your schedule, your genetic makeup, your body type, how you digest foods, what foods your body likes, how you manage stress. There is no other person like you, ever. Even if you have a twin, their ability to manage stress might be different. Their schedule is going to be different. And so realizing I need to figure out what works for me, catching the beliefs. Now, I just introduced what we are calling the mindset method. And this is the method that we use for every single client in our program. And it's very simple. Know, name, notice, nurture. And that's exactly what you just said about recreating that belief. Recognize that you compare often. Name it, right? and actually give it a name, which is, again, we talked about this before. Name it and also name the beliefs, the self-limiting beliefs related to it. Notice when it's happening, understand the feelings,
Right.
understand your normal reactions, but take a step back from them and then nurture it, reframe for outcomes that better serve you,
Right.
and then self-care.
Well, and to add on that too, give yourself the opportunity to think of each time that this happens an opportunity to learn. Because I think a lot of times clients get discouraged because it's not happening right away,
Mhm.
right? And you have to, like, this is years of a process. This is years of interactions that you weren't expecting or weren't anticipating. So every time this happens, it's a practice.
You just made me think of
Huh.
something. Go ahead.
And so you're not, like, for me, even still to this day, sometimes I have, like, so on Sunday, my dad makes this ricotta cake. It's really good. I was full,
Ooh.
but then I was, yeah, and then he like brought it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat that. And so, and then I like get home, like, oh, I'm so uncomfortably full. But in the past, I would have been like, I shouldn't have had that. I need to work out tomorrow. I've got to figure this out. I need to reduce my calories for the week.
Mhm.
Like, come on, you knew you were already full. You should have. And I thought, oh man, well, I really like his ricotta cake.
Mhm.
Next time, maybe I take a piece home and have it the next day.
Yeah.
Or maybe next time I like see if there's a cake there and
Mhm.
better prepare leading up to the meal so I
Right.
don't eat more during dinner.
Right. Or have a portion that's
Yes,
smaller,
yes.
No, I agree. Funny thing that you said, this takes a long time. I was just thinking about some of the influencers I was talking about.
Mhm.
They'll show their before pictures and they're usually like, is it pixelate? Like they're the old photos.
Oh God, I know. And they use the same one over, and there's like 2 of them that they have. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you only have 2 shit photos of yourself?
Well, and it's funny because they're so old.
yes.
Because it's taken these people so
So
long
long.
to get to where they're at. So
But
anyway.
yeah, and if I showed a picture of myself, like there's 2 distinct photos that I have in my mind of myself in college that I'm like college teen chunks. And not chunks, I shouldn't like, but obviously did not care about my weight and my health. I could use those over and over, but I was also 20 and 21 and not drinking, like, and drinking excessively
Right.
and not working out. So yeah, it's a bit
And your
different.
stress level was making sure your
Yes.
debit card went through on your Vodka Rebel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was when you still could pay cash for like
Oh,
stuff.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to carry cash all the time. Okay. Anyways, let's wrap
Okay.
this up. So
Okay.
remember, so your takeaways, clean up your social media, focus on your life and your body, catch the beliefs and change them. And remember, there's only one you, my dear. If you like this information and you want to follow us on social media,
Mhm.
I've been saying this wrong.
What?
There's no the on my Instagram.
Oh,
So I
it's
was
Mindset
at Coaching
Matter.
Con and kept saying, they're like, we can't find
Oh.
you. And I'm like, you dork. Mindset Matter Coaching on IG for me.
And I'm fitbyamanda.az.
We also have a YouTube page where you can find our webinars and this exact podcast. Just this one. The others are a disaster. The Mindset Matter, also on TikTok, the Mindset Matter. And if you're interested in coaching, you can find us at mindsetmatter.com. Set up a transformation call. We as a company do not believe about selling anything to anyone if they are not ready. We just want to help you kind of take what we're teaching you here and give you a little bit more of a custom approach. Those are completely free calls.
Yeah.
And remember,
What you say in the mind.
you see in the mirror.
Okay.
Peace.